Good morning, and welcome to the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council's Program, Finance, and Administration Committee, or PFAC meeting. I am Adam Levine, Executive Director of NYMTC, and I will chair this meeting. This meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be posted on the NYMTC website within the next 2 weeks. Today's meeting is available by webinar and in person at the NYMTC office located at 25 Beaver Street in Lower Manhattan. For the meeting audience who are on the webinar, your lines will remain muted throughout the meeting. The chat pod is being monitored by NYMTC staff. During the public participation section of the agenda, registered speakers will be called on in the order of their registration. Registered speakers who are participating by webinar will be called on and their lines unmuted for their remarks. At this time, I will begin with the roll call. When I say your agency, I ask that each representative state your name and the NYMTC principal you are representing. First, the voting members. New York State Department of Transportation.
Good morning. My name is Nicole Farmer, and I am representing Commissioner Marie-Therese Dominguez at the New York State Department of Transportation.
Thank you. New York City Department of Transportation.
Hi, good morning. My name is Yogesh Sanghvi, representing Yogesh Sanghvi of New York City DOT, representing Commissioner Idanis Rodriguez.
Thank you. New York City Department of City Planning.
Good morning, Jack Schmidt, representing City Planning Commission Chair and Director of the Department, Daniel Gorodnik.
Thank you. Metropolitan Transportation Authority.
Good morning, this is Tiana Grimes, representing Chairman Jana Lieber.
Thank you. Nassau County.
Good morning, this is Joe Cuomo, representing Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman.
Thank you. Suffolk County.
Hi, this is Chris Chatterton, representing Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine.
Thank you. Rockland County.
Pat Gurdon, representing Rockland County Executive Ed Day.
Thank you. Putnam County.
Hi, this is Barbara Barrosa, representing Putnam County Executive Kevin Byrne.
Thank you. Westchester County.
Good morning. This is Craig Lader, representing Westchester County Executive George Latimer.
Thank you. And now for the advisory members. Port Authority of New York and New Jersey.
Good morning. I'm Jay Sheffield, representing the Port Authority's Executive Director, Rick Cotton.
Thank you. New Jersey Transit. Hearing no representative. North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority. Also hearing no representative. New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Also hearing no representative. Federal Transit Administration.
Good morning, I'm Dan Moser, representing FTA Region 2 Administrator Mike Collada.
Thank you. Federal Highway Administration.
This is God Money, representing New York Division Administrator Rick Markey.
Thank you. United States Environmental Protection Agency.
Good morning. My name is Sept. I'm representing EPA Region 2 Regional Administrator Lisa Garcia.
Thank you. By my count, under our operating procedures, we have a quorum for today's meeting. Let's move on to the next item on this agenda, which is my report. The following are some of the noteworthy events that have taken place since our last meeting in June. As usual, it has been a very busy summer here at NYMTC, and here are several highlights of the extraordinary work we have underway. In July, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency concluded that all applicable requirements for air quality conformity have been met and that conformity has been demonstrated for the NYMTC region. We are making initial preparations to conduct our next conformity analysis for calendar year 2025 in accordance with the schedules for the upcoming plan and TIP. A refresher training on conformity and our project data collection software, PIMS, will be offered in a few weeks. With regard to our long-range transportation plan, topical workshops for Moving Forward 2055 concluded at the end of June with a session on transportation and technology. Thoughtful input was gathered at all 7 topical workshops, which is helping to inform the plan as it is being drafted. Opportunities for additional public feedback will come again in the spring and summer when the draft plan is released for public comment. Over the summer, Governor Kathy Hochul announced recipients for both the Transportation Alternatives Program and the Bridge New York program. The Transportation Alternatives Program focuses on transportation-related projects which provide infrastructure to improve sidewalks, pedestrian and bicycle safety, enhancements in access to public transportation, safe routes to schools for students and their parents, and the creation of trailway networks. Bridge New York provides local governments across the state with the necessary funding to rehabilitate and replace bridges and culverts, enhancing safety and improving the resiliency and sustainability of New York's vital transportation infrastructure. NYMTC members and local municipalities received over $37 million in TAP funding across 12 projects and nearly $100 million in Bridge New York funding across 17 projects. NYMTC staff was happy to have helped facilitate these efforts. On the survey community of practice front, we received some very good comments on the first draft of the guidelines and have incorporated those suggestions. The second draft has been distributed to the community of practice members and will be discussed at the next full meeting on Monday, September 23rd. The meeting will also include a presentation from Port Authority of New York and New Jersey on their PATH survey. Regarding the New York best practice model, enhancements to the 2019 base year model will continue through the end of this month, with a focus on improving the model's validation. Improvements to the model's bus and highway speed methodologies, as well as the speed capacity lookup table process, have been completed and implemented into the enhanced model. Work continues on updating the NYBPM truck model component. Our Palisades Shared Use Path study continued to gather public input over the summer. During the first weekend in August, the project team set up 4 locations in Rockland County in northern New Jersey and gathered feedback from 90 members of the public. Constructive input was gathered and will be incorporated into the study report. Work is nearly completed on distributing the county-level socioeconomic and demographic forecasts down to the Transportation Analysis Zone, or TAZ, level, so that they can be used in the NYBPM. Once completed, the forecast working group will review these TAS-level distributions and provide comments and input over the next several weeks. A few additional items worth mentioning. NYMTC has started the process for updating our website, and we are seeking public feedback. Take a look at our social media channels, including LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, for a link to a 5-minute survey on what you like about our current website and where it could use some improvement. Every year at this time, NYMTC staff mark another year that has passed since September 11th, 2001. While the years may be passing, the memories are still vivid for our staff who were working at NYMTC on that day. Once again, NYMTC staff, past and present, gathered at the National September 11th Memorial here in Lower Manhattan to support and comfort each other and to remember those we lost that day: Ignatius Adanga, Charles Lesperance, and Siwong Shum. In their honor, NYMTC awards graduate-level college scholarships to students in the New York and New Jersey area who are interested in working on project proposals submitted by our members. The scholarship committee met just yesterday to select candidates and match them with projects that will fit their skills and interests. The candidates were uniformly excellent, and we look forward to announcing the scholarship recipients soon. As I close my report, I want to thank the staff here at NYMTC, as well as our members, for all of your hard work. Your dedication and service to the people of New York City, Long Island, and the Lower Hudson Valley is, as always, very much appreciated. We will now listen to a presentation titled Leveraging the Build America Bureau's Financial and Technical Support for Transportation Projects, which will be given by Sarah Williams, Project Development Team Lead with the Build America Bureau at the U.S. Department of Transportation. Sarah?
Thank you for that introduction, and hello everybody. I'm happy to be here this morning. So Sarah Williams, I work with the project development team at the Build America Bureau, and I oversee our transit and TOD portfolios. I will share a screen. Okay. So as mentioned, today's webinar is about leveraging the Build America Bureau's financial and technical support for transportation projects. So a little bit about the Build America Bureau. We have 2 primary missions. One is to provide financial assistance in the form of long-term, low-interest loans for an assortment of different transportation projects. We also have a technical assistance mission that is designed to provide seed money in the form of smaller grants for projects in earlier conceptual phases. So we'll be touching on both of those today. So the Build America Bureau, we sit in the Office of the Secretary here at U.S. Department of Transportation. We have a number of groups within our organization. We have outreach, technical assistance, project development, where I sit, as well as folks that work in risk management, underwriting, and portfolio management. I will say the Build America Bureau, we do not act in a silo. We work very closely with our fellow operating administrations, so FHWA, FTA, FRA, et cetera. And they really help, particularly on the loan side of things. They do assist us in navigating the process, particularly when it comes to overseeing federal requirements and just working with constituencies based on the project's location. So I'll start with our financing programs. We have two main loan programs, TIFIA and RIF. Again, we can provide loans, loan guarantees, as well as lines of credits. TIFIA is more focused on surface transportation projects, so we can fund transit projects, bus projects, et cetera. And then we can finance up to 33%, or in some instances, up to 49% of total eligible project costs. RIF is more focused on railroad projects, so it's a little bit different. We focus on passenger rail, freight rail, commuter rail, et cetera, and we can finance up to 75% or even up to 100% of total eligible project costs. The Bureau, a newer asset class for us, is transit-oriented development, and we do have the authority to fund TOD projects under both of these loan programs, and I'll dive into a little bit more detail on those in just a few slides. The Bureau also has the ability to allocate private activity bonds. They can be combined with TIFIA and RIF loans as well. So some key features of the TIFIA and RIF loan programs. One of the more attractive features is that we offer low interest rates that are based on the Treasury rate at loan close. The rate that applies is the one that aligns most closely with the duration of the loan that you take out. So if you were to take out a 10-year loan, we look at the 10-year rate. A 35-year loan, we look at that 30-year rate. And as of just a few days ago, the interest rate for a 35-year loan was at 3.96%, which, as we understand, is quite competitive compared to private financing options right now. Some other key features of our loan programs is that we're flexible when it comes to terms and conditions to meet borrower needs and preferences. We can tailor that repayment period up to 35 years. For the most part, we technically have the statutory authority to go up to 75 years, but it's tied to the useful life of the asset. For TOD in particular, the maximum is going to be in that 35-year ballpark. And then finally, there is an option to potentially defer the start of repayments up to 5 years after substantial completion of a project. That's on a case-by-case basis and gets evaluated later on in our process. And then finally, there is no prepayment penalty within our loan programs. So diving a little bit more into the parameters of the different loan programs, again, TIFIA is more focused on surface transportation projects. We can fund TOD projects that qualify as public infrastructure or economic development projects with a public infrastructure component. Some general parameters is, for the most part, TIFIA has to have a minimum cost of $10 million for TOD and local projects. Again, we can finance up to 33% for traditional surface transportation projects, but we can actually fund up to 49% for transit and TOD projects. Maximum federal assistance, so any grants plus loans, is capped at 80% of the total project costs, so at least 20% will need to be non-federal funds in that capital stack. TIFIA does have an investment grade rating requirement. It is the responsibility of the sponsor to procure from a nationally recognized agency, so Moody's, Fitch, S&P, any of those SEC nationally recognized agencies. Diving into RIF, again, RIF is more focused on railroad projects. There's no minimum project cost or maximum loan value. We can fund up to 75% of total eligible project costs for RIF eligible TOD projects, and we can actually fund up to 100% of total eligible project costs for just purely railroad projects. RIF does not have the investment grade rating requirement. However, there is a credit risk premium paid by the borrower that does get applied to the loan. There are a number of things that go into calculating it. Some sponsors do provide a rating to help calculate that credit risk premium. And then we have the authority to allocate private activity bonds. They're really more designed for highway or freight transfer projects. So focusing on TIFIA and RIF a little bit more, TIFIA again is more eligible projects or surface transportation projects. You can see the full spectrum here. So roadways, transit facilities, bike ped infrastructure. We can even do airports and commercial seaports. And then again, some transit-oriented development projects. Eligible borrowers under TIFIA can include state and local governments, state infrastructure banks, private entities, transportation improvement districts, etc. And then RIF is again more focused on railroad projects, and we can do eligible transit-oriented development projects as well under RIF. And then eligible borrowers for RIF are railroads, government entities, government-sponsored authorities, etc. Private entities can be eligible borrowers under RIF, but they cannot go it alone. They are required to be in an eligible joint venture with another RIF eligible entity, so a railroad, government entity, government-sponsored authority. And I describe that as lowercase JV, and that there just needs to be an agreement in place, the parties, that clearly says these are the contributions as well as the benefits that are being realized by that project. So I will say in the event of a joint venture, the public entity would not need to be on the loan itself, but they do need to be involved, and we need proof of that. So these are federal funds, these loan programs, and therefore they do trigger federal requirements. So some of the more substantial ones are NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act, Build America, Buy America, Uniform Relocation Act, Davis-Bacon, and there are others as well. There's more comprehensive information on our website. But this is something to keep in mind when it comes to seeking funds from the Build America Bureau. One thing to keep in mind is that they can have cost implications as well as schedule implications. NEPA in particular does need to be complete prior to loan close and prior to any work being done on the project as well. So we do have one initiative called the TIFIA Rural Project Initiative, or RPI as we call it. This applies for projects that are in an area with populations less than 150,000. I realize the New York City area may not have a lot that would qualify for RPI, but in the event anyone has projects that could fall into this category, it's good to know. The RPI can apply for projects that have a total project cost between 10 million and 100 million. And one of the attractive features of this is that we actually apply half the treasury rate in terms of the rate that gets for the loan under the TIFIA RPI program. There are borrower advisor fees that apply to all of our loan programs, and under TIFIA RPI, those fees can potentially be fully or partially waived for projects that are under $75 million. So it's something to keep in mind in the event you have a project in a rural area. So now I'm going to dive a little bit more into our transit-oriented development, or TOD, eligibilities. Again, we can fund TOD projects under both our TIFIA and RIF loans. There is nuance in terms of which loan program a TOD project can be eligible for. But generally speaking, under TIFIA, we can fund, our traditional transit projects, but we can fund joint development projects, public infrastructure projects, as well as economic development projects with public infrastructure components. And then for RIF, we can fund railroad projects and economic development projects. And I'll dive into how we define those on the next slide. So I know there's a lot of information on this slide, but bear with me as I go through it. So the first thing we look at for a TOD project is which station or facility is it in proximity to. In order to be an eligible TOD project under both, the project site needs to be within half a mile walking distance of an eligible transit or rail facility. So that's the first thing we look at. Under TIFIA, in order to qualify, eligible stations or facilities can have fixed guideway transit service, an intercity rail station, or an intercity bus station. So examples of fixed guideway transit are light rail, metro, bus rapid transit can qualify, even ferry systems, et cetera. So there is a pretty, there's a lengthy list in terms of what can be eligible under fixed guideway transit. In order to be eligible for RIF, it needs to, the TOD project site would need to be within half a mile walking distance of a station with eligible commuter rail or intercity passenger rail service. So there is a nuance with respect to that. So we have a little bit more of a broader definition of what eligible stations are under TIFIA, and it's a little more prescriptive under RIF. So in terms of eligible project types, under TIFIA, we can fund, again, purely public infrastructure projects, economic development projects that include a public infrastructure component, as well as joint development projects. There is some nuance in terms, there's a little further nuance under TIFIA, and basically in order to get the economic development with public infrastructure eligibility, the service would need to be on some sort of rail. So light rail, subway, metro, etc. If it's just intercity bus, bus rapid transit, or any other non-rail service, then the project would need to be a public infrastructure project. RIF, again, we can fund purely economic development projects around eligible RIF facilities. So an example, for instance, with housing under RIF, we could do a purely market rate housing project. We could do a commercial space. Under TIFIA, if it's around, for instance, a light rail station, we could do a market rate housing project with an affordable housing set aside or some sort of other public infrastructure that is associated with that project. So diving a little bit more into how do we define public infrastructure versus economic development. By public, it means it needs to be owned, developed, or operated by the public sector, or it needs to be open to the public, providing a public service, or serving a public purpose. And by serving a public purpose, we want to see that it confers a public benefit, which can be demonstrated by some sort of public financial assistance going towards the project. So we can fund different types of public infrastructure. We can fund our, preparing the site for development, land acquisition, demolition, utilities, et cetera, as well as the ground up construction and development of the buildings and facilities. And then economic development, again, that can include commercials and residential developments and related infrastructure. There is some parameters under economic development. It does need to be revenue generating for the eligible transit or rail station or service, whether that's a direct improvement that's to that service or station that's part of the project, or if it's just increase in ridership, that's allowable as well. If it is increase in ridership, we would ultimately need a ridership study that says this is the anticipated increase in ridership and therefore the anticipated increase in fare box revenue, though. We do need to see a non-federal match under both TIFIA and RIF for economic development projects. Under TIFIA, there needs to be a non-federal match of at least 20% of total project costs, and there needs to be some sort of private investment. We're not prescriptive about how much, though. Under RIF, there needs to be a non-federal match of at least 25% of total project costs, at least 20% of which needs to be private investment. So that's something to keep in mind when you're setting up your capital stack. So the process of going through the TIFIA and RIF application process, typically, we'll set up a sponsor will reach out to us, and we will set up an initial consultation with that sponsor to talk about their specific project. We'll have any follow-up conversations that are necessary through initial engagement. But then once the sponsor is ready, we would have them submit a draft letter of interest or LOI. We do have an LOI template. It is on our website, but that is really the first step to initiating the process. The development of the LOI is an iterative process, so you can submit a draft, we'll provide feedback and go back and forth as much as is necessary. So we're a little bit different from grants in that way, but you'll continue to work through the project development phase, developing that LOI. Once you get us, the Bureau, enough information, we will do a preliminary eligibility analysis. So preliminarily, is the project eligible, is the sponsor eligible, and we'll send you a letter to that effect. And then you'll continue to work with us towards developing towards that final LOI. We will also need a working financial model. And in the event of a TIFIA project, we would need an indicative rating to wrap up the project development phase and to move to the creditworthiness review phase. Once you get to the creditworthiness review phase, that's when you start to work a lot more with our underwriting team. So that's when we do financial due diligence, negotiate terms and conditions. When you move to creditworthiness, we do need to bring in outside financial and legal advisors and other advisors that the sponsor does need to pay for. That is a cost to the sponsor, but that to support that process. And you continue to work through the creditworthiness review phase. As you get closer towards the end, you would submit a formal application. You would be invited to do so, and you would submit, and then you would work towards financial close. After which you would enter the portfolio management phase, where we do financial oversight until the sponsor pays off the loan. So that's our loan process. We also have some technical assistance grant programs, a number of them. They are great tools to keep in mind. And we do have, again, a full technical assistance team, and they're great resources on our website. I will highlight a few, starting with the Innovative Finance and Asset Concessions Grant. We actually just announced this week our first round of awards. The DOT is awarding just shy of $50 million in grants to 45 local, regional, and state public entities through the program. And there is going to be another round, so another NOFO is expected to be released under the Innovative Finance and Asset Concessions program. It's not a firm date, but hopefully by the end of this year. So it's definitely worth to staying up to date on that. The Thriving Communities Program, the initial cohort under the Thriving Communities Program, DOT awarded just over $21 million to 4 capacity builders to provide support to 64 communities located across 42 states. And that includes 6 tribal nations and Puerto Rico, including 3 transit agencies and 5 MPOs. So that's just a high-level overview of some of the technical assistance grant programs, but it's definitely something to keep in mind for any projects you have that are in the earlier phase and conceptual phase to support the planning process. There are some additional technical assistance resources that we administer here at the Build America Bureau. They're listed here. We have there is an online DOT navigator that's a great resource, so you can learn more about the different types of grants that are available to sponsors. But again, we have a plethora of resources that are great tools for potential sponsors. And that's it. I know that was a lot of information. Hopefully this was helpful, but I will pass it back over to the team. And definitely feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Yes, that was definitely a lot of information. Thank you, Sarah. That was really great. So many different opportunities for investment. It's really terrific to hear. So, okay, do we have any members who have questions about the presentation? All right, I don't hear any. Stephanie, we do have time for a couple of questions from the chat pod, if there are any.
There are no questions in the chat at this time.
It sounds like Sarah answered all questions that anybody would have, so that is much appreciated. Thank you, Sarah. Really appreciate you taking the time to explain the Build America Bureau's great work to us.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. We will move on to the next item in the agenda. We'll now begin the public participation segment of this meeting. We will hear from registered speakers with prepared remarks. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to give their remarks. We will hear from these participants in the order they have registered. We ask that all speakers limit their comments to relevant transportation and planning-related items. Jerry, are there any registered speakers for today's meeting?
None at this time, Madam.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move on to the next item in the agenda, which is the list of our action items. So we'll now begin with the action items on the agenda. All material related to these action items has been posted on the NYMTC website at www.nymtec.org. The first action is to accept the June 20, 2024 meeting synopsis. I ask all voting members to announce your name and the agency you represent when you make or second a motion. May I have a motion to accept the June 20, 2024 meeting synopsis?
Joe Cuomo, Nassau County, makes a motion.
Thank you, Joe. May I have a second?
Second, Craig Lader, Westchester County.
Thank you, Craig. Does anyone object to the motion? Hearing no objections, the meeting synopsis is accepted. Thank you all. As per NYMTC's operating procedures, we are required to report on the recent action taken by the members by mail ballot. On July 19, 2024, the voting members of PFAC unanimously adopted Resolution Number 584, distribution of federal fiscal year 2024 federal transit funding, which provides funds for transportation projects and/or programs. NYMTC's operating procedures allow for action by mail ballot and require that the action is reported publicly during the next scheduled meeting, which I am doing today. Resolution number 584 is available on NYMTC's website along with the other resolutions from today's meeting. We will move to the next agenda item. The next action item is to adopt Resolution 585, 2024 Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Performance Plan. I will now ask Carl King of NYMTC staff to introduce this resolution. Carl? Is Carl there?
He is on.
All right, I think we may need to perhaps come back to this one.
Sounds good.
Okay, then we'll go to Resolution 586. The next action item in the meeting is to adopt Resolution number 586, Amendment to the Federal Fiscal Years 2023 to 2027 Transportation Improvement Program to include updated financial tables. I will now ask Michael Toomey of NYMTC staff to introduce this resolution. Michael? Michael, if you're speaking, we're not hearing you.
He's also listed, Adam.
Okay, I think we're going to have to do a little bit of follow-up on that one as well.
Okay.
The next action item is to adopt Resolution 587, updated targets under the Transportation Performance Management Requirements. I will ask John Simpson of NYMTC staff to introduce this resolution. John?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, John.
Okay, just wanted to make sure of that. Resolution 587 updates transportation performance management targets for highway performance and for transit safety and transit asset performance. We will be making changes to the tip and plan, to reflect the updated targets, and this is part of our continuing, ongoing transportation federally required TPM efforts, and NYMTC staff recommend that PFAC adopt this resolution.
All right, thank you, John. May I have a motion to adopt Resolution 587, updated targets under the Transportation Performance Management Requirements?
Motion, Chris Chatterton, Suffolk County.
Thank you, Chris. May I have a second?
Second, Yogesh Sanghvi, New York City DOT.
Thank you, Yogesh. We will now vote by roll call, starting with the Lower Hudson Valley. Putnam County.
Aye.
Rockland County.
Aye.
Westchester County.
Aye.
And Long Island, Nassau County.
Aye.
Suffolk County.
Aye.
And New York City Department of Transportation.
Aye.
New York City Department of City Planning.
Aye.
And finally, Metropolitan Transportation Authority. Metropolitan Transportation Authority.
Aye.
And New York State Department of Transportation.
Aye.
Thank you all. The motion passes. Let's see if we can perhaps return to Resolution 585. If we have Carl King available. Carl, are you available to discuss Resolution 585?
Adam, Carl got kicked out of the call for some reason. He's trying to get back in, but I believe Mike is available for 5-8.
All right, then let's go to Resolution 586. Michael, are you ready to introduce that resolution?
Oh, yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, there was chaos on my computer. Like somebody has hacked me up, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
And I'm good right now.
Great.
Good morning, everybody. This is to introduce the Res of 586 consisting of updated fiscal constraint tables attached to this resolution for the current year FFI 2023-2027 TIP and updated as of the end of February of federal fiscal year 2023. Preparation of constraint tables are to be undertaken annually at the conclusion of each federal fiscal year to make sure the current TIP is physically constrained as required by federal regulations and posted in the NYMTC website. This resolution is expected to take effect today, the 19th day of September 2024. We request members to adopt this resolution, 586. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. May I have a motion to adopt Resolution 586, Amendment to the Federal Fiscal Years 2023 to 2027 Transportation Improvement Program to include updated financial tables?
So moved. Jack Schmidt, New York City Department of City Planning.
Thank you, Jack. May I have a second?
Second, Barbara Barossa, Putnam County.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will now vote by roll call, starting with the Lower Hudson Valley. Putnam County?
Aye.
Rockland County?
Aye.
Westchester County?
Aye.
And Long Island, Nassau County?
Aye.
Suffolk County?
Aye.
New York City Department of Transportation?
Aye.
New York City Department of City Planning?
Aye.
And finally, Metropolitan Transportation Authority?
Aye.
New York State Department of Transportation?
Aye.
Thank you all. The motion passes. I think we'll hold 585 for a little while. Sorry for everyone that we're a bit out of order.
Adam, Carl is back, by the way.
Oh, Carl is back. Is Carl available to talk about Resolution 585? Carl, are you available to talk about this resolution? Number 4.
You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, finally. Sorry, I was kicked out for some reason, like a few minutes before I was supposed to speak. Okay, I'll quickly try and go through this. I am presenting Resolution 585 for the development of the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality CMAQ Performance Plan. NYMTC is in a transportation management area. Therefore, by U.S. code, is required to develop the CMAQ Performance Plan. The CMAQ Performance Plan is part of Transportation Performance Management. It is also for the performance-based planning for the goals and objectives to meet the requirements of the different targets that we must set for the CMAQ plan. The 2024 plan has 3 targets. The ones I like to talk about are the 3 that we deal with. The first is for non-single occupant vehicle travel. This means that within our NYMTC area as well as our UZA, that 56% of people do not travel alone in a car. It's considered good, the majority do not, but the projects for CMAQ that we have within our 3 TCCs that help this is, for example, our transit projects, for the MTA, our subways, as well as our buses that help people have alternative transit modes in New York and the NYMTC area. The other area is our bike pedestrian projects, which we have as part of our CMAQ. Several of these within all 3 TCCs for CMAQ help reduce by giving alternative modes, as well as microtransit that we have as of our suburban TCCs as well, all help us connect and help reduce the emissions and also have alternative modes. The next target is our peak hour excessive delay target that we must meet. This notes the congestion within the NYMTC area and our UZA. It's measured by 20 miles per hour, which shows congestion on highways are only 60% of our posted speed. The projects that we have, many of them within the NYMTC area for CMAQ include intersection improvements, intersection analysis, as well as mobility improvements, Active traffic demand management systems help us improve speed. Signalization projects help us improve speed within the NYMTC area, and all three TCCs have these. The last area we're talking about is our total emissions reduction target. This primarily measures the criteria pollutants and the critical pollutants that's going to be at the tailpipe. These are alternative fuel projects. The projects that we have, for example, electric buses that we have within Suffolk as well as in Hudson South, the clean truck program in New York City for diesel retrofits. All of these help us meet these targets. Therefore, I ask that PFAC also adopts Resolution 585 for the 2024 Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. May I have a motion to adopt Resolution 585, 2024 Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Performance Plan?
Motion, Packard, Rockland County.
Thank you, Pat. I have a second.
Second, Chris Chatterton.
Thank you, Chris. I think we need to mute some folks.
Oh, no.
This is Chris Chatterton, second from Suffolk County.
Thank you, Chris. Just want to maybe ensure that we're, I know there's a bug going around, or a few bugs going around. I guess they're affecting our computers too. Okay. Is there any discussion about this resolution? All right, we will now vote by roll call, starting with the Lower Hudson Valley. Putnam County.
Aye.
Rockland County.
Aye.
Westchester County.
Aye.
Long Island, Nassau County.
Aye.
Suffolk County. Suffolk County, Chris?
Yes, aye.
Thank you. New York City Department of Transportation.
Aye.
New York City Department of City Planning.
Aye.
And finally, Metropolitan Transportation Authority
Aye.
and the New York State Department of Transportation. New York State Department of Transportation, Nicole?
Oh, sorry, I was double muted. Aye.
Thank you. Thank you all. The motion passes. All right, I think we are back in order, I hope. And we can move on to what I believe is Resolution 588, amendments to major metropolitan transportation investments in the federal fiscal years 2022 to 2050 Regional Transportation Plan. I will now ask Leslie Forger of NYMTC staff to introduce this resolution. Leslie?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to introduce Resolution 588. Resolution 588 will make a few adjustments to moving forward, which is our current regional transportation plan. The adjustment is as follows. It calls for the removal of the AirTrain LaGuardia project from the plan, which is, the project was in the constrained portion. It's going to be removed. It also calls for removal of the LaGuardia Airport Ferry Landing project from the constrained portion of the plan. And finally, it calls for the addition of the New York 25A bypass project to the vision element of the plan. So these are the three adjustments that will be made. And in order to maintain fiscal constraint, NYMTC staff recommends that you adopt this plan, adopt this resolution. That's all that I have. Back to you, Adam.
Thank you, Leslie. May I have a motion to adopt Resolution 588, amendments to major metropolitan transportation investments in the federal fiscal years 2022 to 2050 Regional Transportation Plan?
So moved. Craig Lader, Westchester County.
Thank you, Craig. May I have a second?
Second, Jack Schmidt, New York City Department of City Planning.
Thank you, Jack. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will now vote by roll call, starting with the Lower Hudson Valley, Putnam County.
Aye.
Rockland County.
Aye.
Westchester County.
Aye.
And Long Island, Nassau County.
Aye.
And Suffolk County.
Aye.
In New York City Department of Transportation.
Aye.
New York City Department of City Planning.
Aye.
And finally, Metropolitan Transportation Authority
Aye.
and the New York State Department of Transportation.
Aye.
Thank you all. The motion passes. Next action item of this meeting is to adopt Resolution 589, amendments to the state fiscal years 2023 to 2024 and 2024 to 2025 Unified Planning Work Programs. I will now ask Setu Allen of NYMTC staff to introduce this resolution. Setu?
Good afternoon, everyone. So for the amendments to the state fiscal year 23-24 UPWP, New York City DOT is requesting to reprogram funds from projects that needed a little less than expected funding to complete to projects that need a little bit more funding to complete. For the state fiscal year 24-25 work program, Suffolk County is requesting to add a series of projects that were programmed in last year's program to the current program to undertake that work in the state fiscal year 24-25 UPWP. NYMTC staff would request that the PFAC adopt this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Setu. May I have a motion to adopt Resolution 589, amendments to the state fiscal years 2023-2024 and 2024-2025 Unified Planning Work Programs?
Joe Cuomo, Nassau County, makes a motion.
Thank you, Joe. May I have a second?
Second, Barbara Barossa, Putnam County.
Thank you, Barbara. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will now vote by roll call, starting with the Lower Hudson Valley. Putnam County.
Aye.
Rockland County.
Aye.
Westchester County.
Aye.
And Long Island, Nassau County.
Aye.
Suffolk County.
Aye.
And New York City Department of Transportation.
Aye.
New York City Department of City Planning.
Aye.
And finally, Metropolitan Transportation Authority
Aye.
and New York State Department of Transportation.
Aye.
Thank you all once again. The motion passes. The final action item of this meeting is to adopt Resolution 590, Recognition of Service for New York City Department of Transportation Assistant Commissioner Yogesh Sanghvi. As the Assistant Commissioner, Yogesh served as the New York City Department of Transportation's representative for the Council and PFAC from 2019 through September of 2024. Yogesh represented several appointed New York City Department of Transportation commissioners with dedication and has been an active participant in PFAC by contributing his expertise and leadership to NYMTC's regional transportation process. Yogesh will retire from service with the New York City Department of Transportation effective September 30th, 2024. The membership of PFAC appreciates his service and send him best retirement wishes. Before I ask for the vote, does anyone wish to say a few words? Okay, may I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
Adam, it is my pleasure to make a motion in support of this resolution recognizing my esteemed colleague Yogesh.
Thank you, Jack. May I have a second?
Pat Gurdon seconds that.
Thank you, Pat. Does anyone object to the motion? Hearing none, this resolution has passed. Thank you all. The next PFAC meeting is scheduled for Thursday, November 21st, 2024. Details of that meeting will be made available 2 weeks prior to the meeting date. To conclude today's meeting, I ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved. Yogesh Sanghvi, New York City DOT.
Thank you, Yogesh. May I have a second?
Second, Chris Chatterton, Suffolk County.
Thank you, Chris. Does anyone object to the motion? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.